So this is the Mitakon 35mm 0.95 lens. And if you entered my 10K subscriber giveaway, this could be your lens. So stay tuned. What's up guys, Reggie B Photo here and welcome back to the channel. So for those of you who are new, my name is Reggie Ballesteros and I'm a wedding photographer based in the San Francisco Bay Area. But chances are you're not new, and the reason why you're watching this video is because you entered my 10K subscriber giveaway. And in celebration of reaching 10,000 subscribers, I will be giving away the Mitakon 35mm f0.95 lens to a lucky viewer. So in today's video, I'm going to answer your questions that you guys submitted, as well as announce the winners of my giveaway. So just to remind you guys, there are 9 winners total. 5 of you are going to win my RPB preset bundle, and then 3 of you guys are going to be winning my preset bundle along with a 1-hour group mentoring session call. And then the last winner is going to, again, win this awesome f0.95 lens. In addition, they're also going to get a one-on-one coaching call with me for 30 minutes, as well as also be included with that other 1-hour group mentoring session call. So a lot of good stuff here, especially if you want to get better at editing or get better at photography overall or jumpstart your photography business. Hopefully these prizes will help you get there. So I'm going to keep this a little relaxed. I'm going to answer your guys' questions, and interspersed throughout the entire video, I'm going to be giving one winner every now and then after about 9 or 10 or so questions. So stay tuned to see if you are the lucky winner or if you're one of the winners of the other prizes. And you know what? Maybe pause the video, get a snack, get a drink, because this might be a long one, or at least listen to it while you're working or doing something else. So before I get started, I did want to kind of go over the questions that were repeated quite a bit and kind of get those out of the way so we don't waste too much time answering repeat questions over and over. So about 8 of you guys asked me questions related to the brand new X-T4. Specifically, if I'm buying it, what I think about the camera, if it's a better choice over the X-T3, if I'm going to wait for the X-H2, all that kind of stuff. And to answer that, I pretty much summed up all my thoughts in this video linked up above and in description down below, which is basically me choosing the X100V over the X-T4 and sticking with my X-T3 for professional wedding photography, YouTube videos, and that kind of stuff. So the next popular question that people asked was around lens selection, specifically my suggestions to beginners if they had to buy just one lens. So if I had to suggest to anybody to just start out with just one lens, it would be the Fujifilm 23mm 1.4 prime lens. If you can't afford that lens, then it would be the 23mm f2. And somewhat related, people would ask me like, hey, if you're going to shoot a wedding with just one lens or start out your wedding kit with just one lens, which lens would it be? And it would still be the 23mm 1.4. As far as my favorite Fujifilm lens though, that is still the Fujinon 16mm 1.4 at the moment, especially for personal stuff, family, work, travel, etc. And I basically made 2 videos that summarize both my thoughts about the 23mm 1.4 as well as the 16mm 1.4, so check them out in the description. So next up, 4 of you guys wanted to ask about like, hey, I have this piece of gear, is it good enough for weddings? Is it good enough for portraits? Is it good enough for this and that? And my answer to that is, it really depends, because it depends on your skills and your experience. Pretty much any modern day camera or lens can do the job. It's just a matter of if you bring the skills to execute that job. So it's not a straightforward question to answer, and hopefully if you have specific questions about how to optimize your performance with that specific gear or anything like that, go ahead and leave me a comment down below and I'll be sure to try to help you out as best I can. And then so a lot of other people ask kind of questions about like settings for optimizing their performance during wedding photography and portrait photography and stuff like that. So how to get a better keeper rate, how to get sharper photos, flash settings, autofocus settings, nailing focus. And to answer that question, I would really encourage you to watch my 2 longer behind the scenes videos, which is the low light church ceremony behind the scenes, as well as my off-camera flash tutorial behind the scenes video, as I go through pretty much all the important settings that I use throughout the wedding day, both in low light situations and off-camera flash situations, which are pretty much the hardest situations for you guys to figure out, especially continuous autofocus and low light. So be sure to watch those and take notes and kind of pick up on what I discuss in there. If you have any questions, again, leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to answer you. And as far as other questions, a lot of people ask about kind of like my video settings or B-roll video focus settings, and I will be making future videos on how I shoot videos personally and how I set up my cameras, my techniques for that, so stay tuned for that. And then pretty much the last repeated questions are about kind of my process for shooting photos, for editing, for choosing lighting, framing, etc. And for that, I'm going to be doing some behind the scenes videos, especially capturing my EVF to kind of show my thought process for choosing lighting, framing, and composition and that stuff. And if you want to check out my process for editing photos, I have videos on that already. So check those out. I have a live stream as well as a couple videos on my Lightroom editing process. And then a lot of you guys kind of asked, like, how do I increase my skills or take this photography aspect, like editing, posing, etc., to the next level? How do I improve? And to that, my quick answer to that is you got to practice. You got to invest the time to practice more, learn a little bit, read a little bit, but then also just do it and practice. That's the only way you're going to get better, is you put in the time. I didn't get to this place overnight. It's been 5 to 6 years of professional photography, and it's been about like 10 years or so of just photo editing and doing photography as a hobby. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to kind of gain your expertise and your efficiency at doing all this stuff. All right, so let's get this started. This is the actual Q&A. And again, I'm going to be announcing the winners of the prizes as we go on. The very first question that a lot of people ask me all the time is, am I Filipino? And the quick answer is yes, I'm Filipino. And no, I don't speak Tagalog. So let's get that out of the way first. And the next question is, what is my next goal for YouTube? 50K subs is my goal for 2020, by the end of 2020, so I'm shooting for that. What is my favorite food? So my favorite food is probably kind of like a three-way tie between donuts, french fries, and pizza. And if we were going to throw beverages in there, it's going to be beer and ices, like from the movies, like ices that you get at theme parks, that kind of thing. If I weren't doing photography or YouTube, what would I be doing? I'd probably just be hanging out and doing what I'm already doing, which is just taking care of my kids and spending time with my family. If I did have to fill time in between, it'd probably be just playing video games and watching movies in my free time. How do I balance work life with such a young family? And the short answer to that question is I don't. I'm still having a hard time adjusting to balancing kind of like my work life, my business, YouTube, and raising a young family and being a good partner to my wife. It's a struggle. It's an ongoing struggle. It's not easy. My quick fix to do it right now, to balance it, is to sacrifice sleep. On the days that I upload videos, I only sleep maybe 1 to 2 hours. On a normal working day where I edit photos and edit videos, I'm only sleeping about 4 hours. And I try to, after 2 days of working during the nights, I try to have one good night of rest, which is like 5 to 6 hours. So I don't sleep very much. So this next question is, pineapple pizza. Sure. Yeah, I'll eat pineapple pizza. What is my all-time favorite TV show? So this is a two-part answer because I do think you can segment TV shows based on kind of like, one is like a drama and a story, and the other one's just like we can watch all the time. As far as all the time goes, my favorite all-time show is The Office. And as far as kind of like a drama or like my favorite TV show for the story would have to be Breaking Bad. So now that takes us to our first winner. So the 9th place goes to Marlon Caballero. You get a RPB Ultimate Bundle preset pack. I'll be emailing you with all the details to get that over to you real soon. So now we're going to start getting into like business stuff, photography stuff. So what is the best approach to take to get a photography business going? I would say the first thing is to hone your craft. And the next step would be to kind of like shadow with somebody to kind of see how to do that type of business that you want to do. In my case, it was shadowing another wedding photographer. From there, build a portfolio and start taking on some business while you still have something stable, a day job or whatever. And then save up some money to the point where you can sustain yourself for 6 months if you don't get any gigs going. And that will give you some runway in order to get that business going so that you can take the right clients instead of taking any clients and bad clients. Hopefully that makes sense. What advice would you give to a younger person starting their career in photography? Also, if you're trying to switch careers because this person is currently working for someone in a different direction right now. It's still pretty much the same advice that I would give in that first question. More suggestions I would take is, again, take advantage of the fact that you do have another job, because You don't have to be as reliant on it, and you can build your business the right way. Also, I would also say to find somebody to mentor you or to give you advice, because it's a lot harder to do things on your own than it is to kind of get experience and knowledge from somebody else who's already gone through it before. So this next question is, how do you start building a portfolio of wedding photos? I think the best way to build a wedding portfolio is to obviously shoot more weddings. It is a little bit more pressure to shoot weddings for your own gigs. So I would say start with assisting and second shooting or third shooting. That way you can shoot some weddings without having the pressure of being able to get good photos for the clients, and you can just experiment and learn without having that pressure of getting unhappy clients. Did you have any doubts when you first started? Yeah, of course. Everyone has doubts when they first started to do anything, and this is no exception. I still even have, good amount of nerves before every single wedding or every single shoot that I do. But the best way to get over this is to keep practicing, build your confidence, and you just got to put your reps in. Just like exercising, you got to put your reps in with whatever type of professional photography that you do. The more reps you put in, the stronger your muscles get. So the more photography that the more gigs you do, the more couples you pose and all that stuff, you're going to get more comfortable, and it's just going to become the status quo. Another day in the office. It's kind of what you need to do to get to that point of not having as many doubts, or not having doubts that will be at least debilitating, so you can at least do your job. What is your best advice to a beginner wedding photographer? My first thing is to shoot more weddings. Shoot as many weddings as you can. And the next thing I would say is kind of leads into this next question. So this next question asks, what is your most important vital piece of information you would give to a wedding photographer who's in their first or second year, and maybe something that they've never learned or even have been taught as of yet? And that important vital piece would be to start learning about business. Most wedding photographers who get into this are going to start from like 0 to year 5, just be working on getting their skills up and getting better photos. But at year 5 or so is when you kind of make it or break it, because if your business doesn't bring in leads or you're underpriced, you're going to either burn out or not get enough business. And the only way to kind of sustain the wedding photography business is to know more business, know about marketing, pricing, sales, how to grow your company, that kind of thing. So learn about business. I recommend it because we get all into photography and the creativity of it, but we really get distracted with the fact that if you're doing this as a business, you need to make money. The best way to make money is not to be a better photographer, but to be a better business person. So, do you recommend second shooting for a season or two before going out and shooting your own clients? Did I just jump in? Yes, I recommend second shooting, and no, I did not just jump in. So I did book my first gig in like January or something of 2014. And then because of that, I second shot as many weddings as I can. I think I second shot like 10 to 11 weddings before that wedding came about, which is November of 2014. How did you practice off-camera flash techniques for shooting events when you started off? I practiced by second shooting and third shooting and asking the primary photographer if I could bring some flashes and experiment and practice. That's pretty much how I did it. All right. So this one's a little different. What is the best questions or preparations you should do while selecting and preparing for a wedding with a photographer? And this is for somebody who's going to be getting married. So the best question I would ask is for that photographer is any questions you need to ask to get comfortable with their personality. So if you have something very specific about somebody's personality that you want for somebody who's going to be around you for your entire wedding day, ask those questions first, and also ask to see a full gallery, if not multiple full galleries of the weddings that they shot. And the reason for this is because anybody can make a good portfolio, but a consistent photography set over the entire wedding day is not something that everybody can do. So you want to make sure that you know what you're getting into and see how they shoot the entire day. And the next winner, the 8th place winner, is Jeff Aldegi. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. You also won a RPB Ultimate Preset Bundle. I'll be emailing you shortly. Alright, so if you could photograph a fictitious couple's wedding, who would it be? This one is pretty hard. I don't know. I really don't know. I guess if I had to say anything, it would probably be Wally and Eve from the Pixar movie, if they ever got married, I would want to photograph their wedding because I think it's one of my favorite movies. So yeah, maybe Wally and Eve from the Pixar movie WALL-E. All right, another quick question is, am I always a RAW shooter, or do I shoot weddings with JPEGs? And I always shoot in RAW, never in JPEG. All right, so what is my workflow for editing and making backups after a wedding? So during a wedding, I'm shooting to 2 card slots. So I have one SD card as the main and one SD card as the backup, so that's 2 copies. As soon as I get home, I import the photos into Lightroom onto my computer. So that's 3 copies. I copy one of those onto another external hard drive. That's 4 copies. And then I also back up both those copies to the cloud. So that is 6 copies because those 2 hard drives are backed up to the cloud. So I have 6 copies by the end of the evening. As far as editing goes, what I do is I render all the one-to-one previews. From there, I cull the photos. And then from that point, I sort them into different folders based on the day. And then from there, I do a second cull to just make sure I get out any duplicates between me and the second shooter, or just any duplicates that I don't want to edit. Then I edit all the photos, and then I export them and deliver them. It usually takes me about 4 to 6 weeks to do that. And it's just a matter of when I get time to do it over those 4 to 6 weeks. Does one card slot worry me? Quick answer, no, it doesn't worry me because 2 card slot cameras are fairly new. Before that, we would just use an external hard drive that had an SD card slot, and we'd make on-site backups. So 1 card slot is not necessary, but you just have to be diligent about making backups throughout the day. How many weddings do you shoot in a year? The most I've shot so far is only 15 because I haven't shot a full entire season where I didn't have a day job yet. This is going to be my first season as full-time. I have about 15 or 16 booked right now, and I'm still looking to book the rest of the year, so we'll see. I'm shooting for 25 though. How do I book more weddings? Basically, you pretty much have to market yourself. And the next question kind of relates to that is, what is the #1 way of marketing that has helped you with your business? Have I tried social media ads? The best way that I've marketed myself at this point is actually word of mouth, and that's not like direct marketing, but referrals and word of mouth is always the best way that any business really books, especially for wedding photographers. The next way that I haven't tried yet is I'm going to be doing social media ads that kind of go into an email marketing system. So TBD on that, but I think that's the next best way. Another great way too is also called content marketing, which is to basically create as much buzz and knowledge around yourself and help those clients that you want to help through blog posts, helpful YouTube videos, that kind of thing. And that's how you'll get your name out there, and hopefully because you've already helped them and you're an expert to them, then they're gonna be like, hey, this person already knows what they're doing. I just want to work with them because they already taught me so much. Similar to how you guys have found me because of your camera or learning photography, that's the type of person you want to be for your respective wedding clients. How do you charge your client per wedding? Is it per hour, per day? Is it a package bundle, etc.? I charge based on a package, and it's split between different types of coverage hours. And pretty much all the inclusions are pretty much the same except for the coverage hours, whether or not it has an engagement session, and whether or not it has a second photographer or an album. You just kind of break it up based on that. What is your all-time favorite memory related to photography? I really don't know. I would say, I guess, one of the most sentimental memories was when back when I started learning photography, my wife and I took a film photography class, and we were still dating at the time. Yeah, we were just spending time in the darkroom, developing our photos, and just kind of like waiting for it to develop fully, and we would just talk and laugh inside that darkroom, and it's one of the more sentimental moments about photography that I would say. All right, so the next winner, the 7th place, goes to Amity Dimri. Sorry if I butchered your name. Again, you also get a RPB Ultimate Bundle preset pack, and I will be emailing you as well. So what is one mistake in photography you've made and have since learned from? I would say in photography, my biggest mistake was just like one mistake I would say is thinking that I don't have to pose couples. A lot of people are like, hey, I'm just going to document what happens. But the truth is, if you just do that, you're going to end up taking bad photos. So you want to be active in posing couples and helping them become their best selves for the photo, rather than just like staying back and thinking that you're gonna be authentic, because them taking photos is not an authentic situation in general, so you want to help them and coach them to make it be a comfortable situation that they're getting a camera pointed at them, and then help them to look natural and their best. Alright, so what made me want to become a photographer? I really didn't want to at first. It was my wife was interested in photography first, and we took a class together, and I just wanted to hang out with her, so I took the class too. It's pretty much how I started. As I went through, I fell in love with the craft. I love technology, so the gear was the initial draw to it. But at the same time, I think the one thing about photography is I'm always learning something new. I love to learn a lot of things. I love to research a lot of things, and my newest thing now is I love to teach people photography. So I think that's why I want to do it. I don't know if that answers that question. All right, so what was the biggest personal obstacle that you encountered when starting your photography business? I think the biggest personal obstacle is asking for money for photography, and asking for money that is high enough for what I'm valued at and what I should value myself at. Still struggle to do that. I'm still struggling to charge more because I do think that I'm not charging enough. I don't think anybody's ever charging enough when it comes to creativity, so you always need to work on that. So what has been the most frustrating experience of all time as a wedding photographer, self-induced or not? And I would say it is accepting a client or giving them a discount to the point where you're annoyed with them. Again, if you charge what you want, if you have a bad client, you'll be okay with them being a bad client because you get the money that you need and that you ask for. If you give them a discount and they end up being a bad client, then you're just going to be hating yourself the entire way. So price yourself in a way that if you got the crappiest client ever, you'd still be able to do the job because you're like, hey, I'm getting good money. Something to think about. What was the worst problem you solved as a wedding photographer? I don't know if this is a worst problem, but there's one wedding that I only had one flash working. And I had to switch it back and forth between the two bodies. That's kind of a bad problem. There was also another time where I dropped my D750 on the ground and I couldn't see the LCD readout inside the viewfinder. It didn't tell me my exposure settings. So basically I had to keep taking my eye off the camera and looking at the settings from the top, then putting it back on. So that was kind of bad because I couldn't see the light meter, and it's really important to see the light meter when you're using a DSLR. So that was kind of a interesting problem to figure out, but I shot the entire wedding that way and it wasn't that bad. What part of the wedding day do I prefer? I prefer the part where I'm eating my meal. So that's a cop-out answer. So the part that I prefer is the part where I'm in control. So that's really doing like the creative portraiture and all that stuff. It was a little stressful because I have to create the ideas and I'm on a timeline, but I think when everything does go right, that is my favorite part of the wedding day. What is your favorite memory from shooting weddings? I don't know if this is my all-time favorite, but one of my favorite memories as of recent was basically an impromptu kind of grip and grin, which is what I call them, when basically, hey, can you take a picture of us? It was a older set of people. One of them was really old, and this set of family members asked me to take their photo, so I took it. And then as soon as I started walking away, one of the ladies came up to me and said, hey, that's my dad. He is 90 years old, and this is probably going to be the last like nice picture of him that he's going to have, so thank you for taking that. And that was really meant a lot to me, just because even when you're stressed out or you're bored or you're not having a good day at the wedding and you're just kind of going through the motion, what you're doing is still important. And you need to kind of remember why you're doing it all is to document these memories for families and for other people. So again, that was a cool memory to kind of be reminded of why I do this in the first place. So what has been your favorite wedding location to shoot? I would say San Francisco City Hall by far is my favorite place to shoot. It's kind of like a playground for photographers, so it's kind of cheating that all the Bay Area people get to shoot there, but hey, that's my favorite place to shoot weddings. If you had to choose between f4 lenses and flashes at a wedding day, or f2 and wider aperture lenses but no flashes on the wedding day, which would you choose? I would never make this decision. This is dumb, but if I had to make a decision, I would choose with the flashes. Just because I can't survive without the flashes, and I'd rather create my own light. I would just hope that I'm not shooting a church ceremony, because church ceremonies don't allow flashes all the time, and yeah, I don't want to think about that situation. This isn't a realistic situation because I would never choose gear that way. Sorry. If you are only to choose two lenses for a wedding or an event, what will it be and why? Is the 56mm 1.2 and the 23mm 1.4, or just if I was shooting full frame, it would be 85 35 1.4 combo. There's a tried and true event lens combo. That's why it just balances right, because I'm going to be shooting with two bodies. Yeah, 85-35 or the 56-23. Can't go wrong with that. All right, so the 6th place goes to Kurt Lubas, and you also won a RPB Ultimate Bundle preset pack. Check your email. Oh, this one's a long one. It's, what are your thoughts about the future photography market, particularly Fujifilm, with serious competition from other companies like Nikon, Canon, and Sony? How well is Fujifilm doing in the coming future, and do you think Fujifilm would force others to drop down their prices to come to terms with consumers, especially now that the features of the X-T4 are on par with full-frame cameras? Honestly, I don't think it really matters. Oh, here, the second question is, in the end, does it really matter? As a professional photographer who makes his living out of shooting photos, do you think that the most recent technology always equals happier consumers, clients, etc.? And no, you don't need the most recent technology. Anything in the last 5 years, you can make good photos for clients. Clients don't necessarily know how to look for that type of quality. What really helps is having a good experience, and then there's a threshold of good enough photos that they're looking for. So I don't think it matters at all. If it did matter, I wouldn't be shooting with Fujifilm. Sorry if I offend anybody, but it is not the best camera on the market to get the best performance. But it is good enough to do what I need it to do, and I'm happy to use it, and it's not getting in my way. That's why I use it. What is the one camera accessory you can't live without? It's not really an accessory, but it is an extra SD card. You can always charge your battery somewhere, but it's hard if you forget an SD card. You're gonna have to go buy one, and it's sometimes a pain to do that. There's so many times that I showed up and I didn't have an SD card inside my camera, so if I had an extra one handy somewhere, that would be useful. Next question is meetup at New York City. Hey, if we can set one up, let's do it. Although we should wait till the coronavirus stuff is all kind of figured out. How do you find your photography style? Basically edit a lot of photos and try to pick something and stick with a certain amount of settings instead of changing your style every single time. Try to make your photos kind of look consistent to each other. They don't have to look exactly the same, but they have to have the same type of tones. And I would say one important thing that I learned over the years is to have a consistent black point in your photos, like kind of like the fade level. If you can set a consistent black point, that'll make most of your photos look similar, because if you have one that's very low black point and one that's kind of higher, one photo will look faded and the other one will look very deep, and that will show some inconsistency in your style. What keeps me going? Right now, it's pretty much my family and helping you guys out. That really is what keeps me going at this point. If you had to shoot a big expensive event, would you go an older camera you know in and out, or a new camera which blows off your old camera which you hardly use? I would use the older camera because I'm not confident that I'll be able to do what I need to do in a quick amount of time and quick reaction time with a brand new camera that I've never used. What's the best way to learn how to pose subjects? Honestly, just practice more and start posing people more, and keep doing what seems to make them more comfortable. All right, so what was my first camera? My first camera was a Canon point and shoot camera. Then the next was my first like DSLR. No, actually, my first SLR was a Nikon N65. My first DSLR camera was a Nikon D200, and my first Fujifilm camera was an X100S. What was your biggest hurdle to get over when first getting into photo as a career? I think the biggest hurdle was to get a consistent amount of bookings over the year, and that is how I ended up turning it into my career afterwards, is having a good amount of income to be able to leave that day job and start doing photos full-time is the amount of money that you can bring in. Alright, so the 5th place winner is Phuc Le, or Lee. You also won an RPB Ultimate Preset Bundle. And this is the last of the 3rd place prizes. So check your email. And now we're going to get on to the bigger tier stuff. Alright, so have you ever had any doubts that what you are doing is not right and you wanted to quit? In all honesty, I want to quit I want to say every 2 weeks. There's a lot of guilt that comes with one, making YouTube videos and having a family, and also just working from home and having a family. It's hard to kind of turn it on and off when you need to do work or when you need to be present to your family. And that guilt really kind of messes with your brain sometimes, and always, for me, wants me to quit all the time. So yeah, there are always doubts, but you have to remember why you're doing it in the first place and use that why to motivate you to keep doing what you're doing. So Fuji is to release 3 unannounced lenses this year. What do you think they have up their sleeve? Honestly, I don't know. To be honest, I don't really care. I think what they have right now is good, but I am excited to see what that 50mm 1.0 has to offer. If I did have to ask for like any other type of lenses, I wish they had an 18mm 1.4 that focus is just as close as the 16mm 1.4. Do you just shoot weddings or do you shoot other things? I shoot family portraits, I shoot events, I'll shoot pretty much anything anyone wants to pay me for. I even started doing video work for small businesses, so I'll shoot whatever, but it's mainly weddings that is my main kind of thing that I market and that I built my business around at this point. What is my favorite film stock? It is the Ilford HP5 black and white film. I think it's a 400 ISO. And then what is the one place that I've been dying to shoot at but haven't shot at yet? It is going to Tokyo, Japan. So if you know anybody who can get me at an event or fly me out there for free, let me know. Alright, so what is your favorite thing about photography? I think I kind of mentioned this before, but I think there's infinite things that you can learn about. That's one thing that I really love about it. And the other thing is it connects people. Photography by nature captures memories. Those memories you can share with other people. You can talk to them about it while you're taking the photos of them, anything like that. I do like the connection aspect and being able to connect with other people and connect with people because of the photos itself. So how do you know so much about photography? Did you study or are you self-taught? How do I know so much is because I just been practicing for so long at it. I did study a little bit. I took one film photography class. For the most part, I'm self-taught and I love to research a lot of things, so that's how I learned a lot of the techniques, but I wouldn't be able to implement them without trying it out actually. And also I shadowed a couple of my mentors to figure out kind of how to do wedding photography. So again, it's just you start to know more by the more you do it, and the more you try, more you fail, all that kind of stuff. A lot of questions. All right, would I ever switch from Fuji? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really keeping me to Fuji other than the fact that I do have and like that I'm helping you guys out, and currently my niche community is Fujifilm, so I don't have any plans to change from it yet. Would you make the switch to another camera brand? Yeah, of course. If there's something that's better out there that's more attractive, or that'll help me do the things that I need to do, or if Fujifilm make the camera or doesn't make a camera that I can't do what I want to do anymore in the way that I need to, then I'll leave them for the next best thing. But it will only be if I have enough money to switch over. What are the things that you can ask for Fujifilm to improve on? To make better autofocus, make a camera with a smaller sensor as far as megapixels go for higher ISO. So the 4th place prize goes to Wesley Grimes. You won a 1-hour group mentoring session with me along with other photographers, as well as the RPB Ultimate Preset Bundle. I will be emailing you details on how to schedule that group mentoring session call very shortly. How do you feel about a kit that has both X series cameras and GFX cameras? Pros, cons, as opposed to X series cameras and full frame. I don't think there's any difference. The GFX cameras have a different lens lineup, which essentially makes it a totally different system. So there's no advantage between going X series and GFX or X series and full frame. I think there is an advantage in that full frame is actually cheaper, and that if you actually look at the 1-to-1 depth of field between full frame and GFX, full frame lenses, at least the 1.4s and the 1.2s, can get actually some shallower depth of field than the GFX. The GFX lenses don't have a super extreme shallow depth of field lens just quite yet. So plus they're really big. I held one and I didn't feel any interest to switch over or get that system. How do you manage burnout? I'm pretty bad at it. I burnt out once last year. The way that I've been trying to do it is to kind of take one day each month to kind of like not do work, to go out, do something fun. I've watched a couple movies by myself at this point, just to step away from both my kids and work and my family, and just try to just decompress a little bit and do something that I enjoy. That's pretty much how I am trying to manage it at this point. How do I handle other people's opinions? For the most part, I just stopped caring about them. The only opinions that I kind of care about are my clients because I want them to be happy. But other than that, I don't really care about them too much. Even the trolls' opinions, I don't really care about them too much, especially about my photos and my photography. I guess the only thing that does kind of bug me is when people bring up kind of like my appearance or my physical features in troll comments. So if you ever see that people are doing that, go ahead and gang up on them. Just kidding, don't do that. So the next question is, do I pose couples? Yes, I pose couples. And what do you think of documentary work? I think it's necessary. I think there's always a good balance between posing, creative posing. You need to have photos of people actually looking at the camera. That's just a tradition that I think is something very easy to do, and we should just do it. It takes 5 seconds to take that shot. And then as far as documentary work, yeah, it tells a story. So you need to have a well-rounded set of all those things, unless you're specialized in being specifically a documentary photographer or photojournalistic photographer. Which other wedding photographers inspire you? There's not too many other wedding photographers that I follow. I think the only one that I really comes to mind is Sam Hurd. He's one of the main inspirations for at least starting kind of like the style that I have. But other than that, there's not really any other wedding photographers that I follow too much. What do you use to get inspiration to make better wedding pictures? Pretty much by just documenting my family every day, and also watching a lot of movies that have great cinematography. That's pretty much how I get my inspiration for my imagery itself, is from cinema. Who inspired you to get into wedding photography? I would say my own wedding photographer that shot our wedding. The experience that he gave us, and just the basically seeing the photos that he gave us, just inspired me to try to start doing that for other people, especially for a living. So top 5 photographers that you look up to and why. I don't think I can name 5 photographers that I look up to. I would say anybody who's making money, comfortable money with their photography and not killing themselves to work, is somebody that I would look up to. I want to just look up to successful business people at this point. So yeah, again, Sam Hurd, I look up to him, and he seems to be doing well for himself and making great imagery. Other than that, I can't think of anybody else. So the 3rd place goes to Robert Ballesteros. You have won a 1-hour group mentoring session call with me, as well as the RPB Ultimate Preset Bundle. Check your email for details on that. So what are some inspirational YouTubers that you follow or recommend to aspiring photographers? I would say follow Sean Tucker. He has some really great inspirational stuff and really around the philosophy of photography. Another photographer that I really follow on YouTube is Evan Ramf. He's a street photographer, but again, he's got a good sound kind of set of photography values and philosophy, where he really cares about perfecting the image and working at it all the time. So definitely follow those 2 guys. Who are some of your favorite photographers that you get inspired by their work? Again, I don't really know. Sam Hurd. One of my initial favorite photographers was Henri Cartier-Bresson, French photographer, documentary photographer. Just check out anybody who is probably part of like the Magnum photography group or whatever. The way that they document photojournalistic stuff is phenomenal, and you can always learn something from that. But looking at photographs is never going to be as good as just making more photographs yourself. So who is your favorite Fuji-X photographer? I don't have one. I guess the only one that comes to mind is Kevin Mullins, but again, his stuff is cool, but I don't think he's my favorite Fuji-X photographer. So yeah, I would have to look at all their stuff. Everyone's put together. Oh, I guess there's one other person that comes to mind is Ian McDonald. Ian McDonald is a street photographer who used photography to get over his postpartum depression from being a paramedic, and I think that's pretty cool, and the work that he creates is very awesome. So yeah, maybe he is my favorite Fuji-X photographer. Alright, it's getting pretty long. 50 minutes so far of audio recording. What is your opinion about Fujifilm skin tones and colors? I don't have an opinion. I think if you shoot in RAW, it doesn't matter. If you shoot video, then yeah, it helps a little bit, but you can shoot in log and edit them that way. Become a better editor and stop worrying about color science. Have you ever considered putting on a workshop? Yeah, I'm actually considering it, and at the end of this video, I'll talk a little bit more about that. What methods do you use to compensate for the lower dynamic range of your Fujifilm APS-C camera? compared to full frame in your daily photography. I use the auto bracketing feature. Basically lets you just press the button once and shoot a 7 frame, 11 frame per second burst of photos that are bracketed. And I've shown it in some other videos, so check out those videos to see how I do that. How much is too much when post-processing portraits? Only you can determine that, or your clients can determine that. But a good rule of thumb is, especially when you're getting started into photography, edit it as much as you like and then dial it back like 80%. That's a good rule of thumb, to 80% of like the power of what you wanted to. Another good rule of thumb is to go to sleep, get away from your desk, and then come back again and look at the photos and then see if you would like to post it that way still. Other than photography, what are your hobbies? I would say other than photography, my hobbies would be watching movies or shows. And then I guess just like researching things. I'm always obsessed with researching anything. Like if something is wrong inside my home and I want to fix it, I'm going to be researching it forever. Or something about photography, or setting up an email marketing system, or how to live stream. I'm always trying to learn something. And when I get to that point, I'm a obsessive researcher. So that's probably what I spend a lot of my time doing, is looking things up and doing deep dives on a lot of things. Would you communicate or post your rates online, or only show them during meetings, or showing just your starting rate? If you feel comfortable, show your entire package and pricing, but at the very least show your starting rate. That way you don't get any lowballers or people who try to lowball you. But I would say I would stray away from hiding it altogether unless you have you're booking a lot of meetings and being able to say it that way. Which lens for portrait between the 56mm 1.2 and the 90mm f2? They're both great portrait lenses. I prefer the 56mm 1.2. Any specific reasons? I just prefer it. I don't know. Would you use the Fujifilm 200 f2 lens on a portrait shoot? Yeah, somebody can give it to me or lend it to me. I've totally used that lens, so I'd use it. Will I use it all the time? Probably not, because it's huge. So the second place winner and the last winner of the group mentoring session call, as well as the preset bundle, is Martyr Hayer. Sorry if I mess up your guys' names. I'll be emailing you with details for your prize. Alright, so the top 3 favorite places to shoot around the Bay Area, I would have to say is, I don't know, the Bay Area. I really don't know. This is a hard one. I might just edit this one out. How do you take the criticism from other YouTubers that Fuji is at its best only considered good as the mid version of Sony, Nikon, and Canon? Honestly, I think they're true. What they're saying is true. How do I feel about the criticism? I don't think it matters. I think it matters about the skill in the eye and the brain of the photographer. And it's proven, and just because you can make a review and say something has better specs doesn't mean you have better photos. And at the end of the day, the photos are what matters. So yeah, I really don't care about the criticism that they have. I just tell you guys the truth. I tell you what I experienced. I tell you my honest opinions. And I show you photos that prove all that stuff. It's kind of the foundation of my channel. So you kind of have to let the photos do the talking and try not to listen to all the rest. If your photos suck, then your argument's not going to stand very well. So yeah, my suggestion is, you want to start arguing with other people based on their brands, get good first, and then again, let the photos talk. What do you think it takes for professionals of all types of photography to embrace crop sensor bodies, like portraits, product photography, and all that other stuff? I think it only depends on the professional themselves. If it works for their system, if they're comfortable with using it, then that's what they're going to use. It's not a requirement for people to start adopting crop sensor bodies. I choose it for my own specific reasons. Is it the best? I don't think so. Can I get better performance out of other bodies? Yes, but again, I like to challenge myself and step up my skills to make better photos with lesser gear, and I kind of enjoy being able to make better photos with people who have better gear. Just fun. And at the end of the day, you want photography to be fun, and you want to strive to make the best images. That's it. With full frame becoming more mainstream and more affordable, and just in some cases more compact, do you consider going back to full frame? I haven't considered going back to full frame yet, but again, if Fuji does me dirty and I end up not liking some of the features, or they don't make a camera that I like anymore, then I will switch over to full frame probably. But again, it's not in the immediate future, and again, I do like teaching you guys, and you guys are mainly Fujifilm photographers, so as of right now, because I want to serve you as my audience, I'll be sticking around Fujifilm for the foreseeable future at this point. What are some things you did to increase your skills on composition and color grading and mastering the tones and the placement of things and all that stuff? Again, it's practice. If you want inspiration, look to cinema. Not other people's photos, and then just, again, practice editing and shooting and all that stuff, and you'll land on something because you'll start to like a certain type of thing or trend to do a certain type of technique. What is the real advantage that the X-Trans sensor offers over the bare ones? Honestly, I don't know if there's an advantage because it gives you that crappy worm demosaicing thing. It's a little bit sharper, but at the same time it has its trade-offs, so I don't think it has a true advantage other than the fact that, yeah, I don't think it has a true advantage. After owning both the 28mm 1.8 and the 16mm 1.4, which do you prefer? I prefer the 28mm 1.8 because you can get shallower depth of field with it. What style of photography is your favorite other than weddings? I think it would be shooting photos of toys and then just day-to-day documentation of my family. How do you deal with nerves about not getting an adequate product to the client? Work harder on making an adequate product. I don't know. I just try to do the best job that I can and do the best quality of work that I can. Usually that ends up being enough for them because client standards will always be a little bit less than you as a photographer if you are a good photographer. If you don't know what you're doing, then in the beginning, there's going to be a difference. How do you deal with the nerves? Do the best job that you can. Over communicate. Set their expectations correctly. Don't tell them you're the best if you're not the best or you don't think you're the best. What are 3 things that you look for in a scene? I look for shapes. I look for good light. I look for interesting backdrops. In your years of experience shooting couples, which is the photos that couples like the most? The ones that you feel like you need to take at all costs. Honestly, the ones that couples end up liking the most or that I have to take are the ones that they're looking at the camera. Someone's always going to ask for that if you don't take it, so just take it. Most of the time, the ones that they like the most are not the ones that I like the most, so I don't really know what the trend is. How much do you mingle with the other people in the event that you're shooting? For me, not that much because I'm an introvert, but there's some other photographers that do it and they end up becoming the best friends of the entire wedding and they end up getting more business. So if you can do that without it affecting your job and how much you're documenting everything, then I would suggest to mingle and be friends with everyone there. Do I talk much to the clients or the client? Yes, that's absolutely crucial to talk to them even when the camera is not up. You want to have meetings with them, get to know them. When you're shooting with them, you want them to be comfortable, and that requires conversation to break those boundaries of being nervous or uncomfortable. You gotta talk to them. You can't just hide behind your camera all the time, at least if you're working with the type of clients that I work with. How do you remain so consistent and not think of your work as getting boring? I actually do think my work is boring, and staying consistent is about just shooting in manual, finding consistent light, and just doing the things that you know that work. And then when you want to experiment, only do that after you've already executed all the things that you need to do, that you need to deliver on first. What do you favor the most regarding the Fuji-X system over other brands? I like the aperture ring. Tips for hobbyist photographers wanting to take their hobby to the next level. I would say the tip for hobbyists to take their photography to the next level is to learn as much as you can, shoot as much as you can. If you get stuck, find someone who is better than you who could teach you. Find a mentor. I mean, you don't even have to be a formal mentor. It could be your friend that's better than you. The only way you can get better at it is to see things that you haven't seen before. And the quickest way to get better is to have someone teach you that. All right, so the ultimate grand prize winner of this lens right here is RJ Miranda. So you won this lens right here, the Mitakon 35mm 0.95 lens. Woo, woo. You won this lens, man. RJ, you won it. And also a 30-minute one-on-one coaching call with me to help you reach your photography goals and kind of work through any challenges that you have. And you also are going to be joining the rest of the other 3 photographers on 1-hour mentoring group call. Of course, you get the RPB preset bundle. So congratulations to RJ. Thank you guys for surviving this entire Q&A video as you waited to see if you're the lucky winner. So sorry if you weren't a winner, but check your email and I will be sending you guys over some discount codes for some other things like presets, and also for the thing that I'm starting to launch out new, which is going to be again these 1 hour group mentoring calls. I'm planning to start up these calls once I get everything fleshed out, once a week. So if you want to join on that, you can sign up on my interest list, which I'm going to link down below. I'm also going to start up doing one-on-one coaching calls with you guys if you want to, that you can schedule at a time that works best for you. And also I'm going to be playing around with the idea of figuring out how to do an in-person workshop so that I can actually meet you guys in person and teach you in person. If you're excited about any of those things, again, sign up. I have a link down in the description below to join the email list so you can get details on that. And if you are a person that entered the contest, I will be sending you some discount codes that you can use in the future once I get these mentoring programs going, and also for a discount code for the presets. So check your email, and if you haven't already, make sure, and you haven't been receiving any emails from me, make sure you confirm the email. It was from info@reggiephotography.com. If you didn't confirm the email, you aren't getting the emails from me like you should be. Alright, so thank you again for surviving this long video. Congrats to all the winners. If you have any questions that weren't answered, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer you guys that question. Again, if you're brand new, which is probably unlikely, but if you're brand new, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, as I make a new Fujifilm or photography video every week. And on Instagram, I'm posting new tutorials, and a lot of you guys have been liking them and thinking they're super useful. So follow me on Instagram at ReggieBPhoto for tutorials, tips, and all that stuff. Again, we have reached 10,000 subscribers. Actually, it's almost 12,000 at the time of recording this video. So with that, that's it for me. Remember to get out, go shoot, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.